Diaries, Chapter 9c. This is the last chapter of the book. Jodie felt close to tears. Everything was going horribly wrong. Nobody understood her. I'm not trying to run things myself. Honest, she said in a choked voice. But I had this idea. And, well, I just wanted to know if what I thought of doing was possible before I asked you about it. But I was going to ask, just as soon as I worked it out. Her voice trailed away. She felt like a burst balloon. Well, why don't you tell us now? Said Craig. He still looked serious, but it was clear he wasn't angry at her. Everyone crowded around the table to listen, except Brittany, who hung back, trying to look as if she wasn't interested. Jodie explained her theory that Apollo might have tasted the presence of the other dolphins and that was why he'd been so excited to find their boat again. Then she told them her idea, that they should track the dolphin group and lead Apollo to them. She looked anxiously at her parents to see what they thought. You know, said Craig gently. If Apollo has been separated from his group, chances are he'll soon find them again. Dolphins are much better at tracking things in the ocean than we humans are, even with our fancy equipment. And Poseidon and company may not have anything to do with your Apollo. I know, I thought of that, Jodie said quickly. But even if they weren't his group to begin with, you did say dolphins migrate to different groups sometimes. Maybe something happened to his old group and he needs a new one. I'm sure he doesn't want to be all alone. I want to give him a chance to meet some other dolphins. Her parents exchanged a glance. Jodie held her breath. Then Craig smiled. Well, why not? Maybe it will turn out to be a wild dolphin chase. But that's what we're here for, to follow wild dolphins. And it will give Dr. Taylor a chance to use his equipment. Dr. Taylor brightened at that. Certainly, and I'll be happy to demonstrate to you, he said. Yes, I'm sure you would, Craig said hastily. But we might be a little busy for a long and scientific explanation. Jodie saw her mother's mouth twitch with amusement, and she guessed she was thinking about the long and boring message for TV that Dr. Taylor had recorded a few days earlier. All right then, said Craig. Let's get started. If you can locate the dolphin, Dr. Taylor, Harry and I can plot a new course. As everyone rose from the table, Craig stopped and wagged his finger at Jodie. I like it when my kids have brilliant ideas, he said. But in the future, would you please run them by me or your mother before involving anybody else? I will, Jodie agreed. She tried to sound meek, but somehow a grin insisted and spread across her face. Her dad thought it was a brilliant idea. However, a few minutes later, as she hung over the side of the boat and watched Apollo, keeping his pace with them, she couldn't help thinking of all the many things that could go wrong with her plan. Apollo might lose interest in following them at any minute, or they might not be able to catch up to the dolphins even by sailing all day. Dolphins could speed through the water much faster than Dolphin Dreamer. They might keep them traveling in circles until Harry got fed up and refused to continue. Or if Apollo didn't abandon them, they did find the other dolphins. Maybe Poseidon and the others wouldn't like Apollo. They might even drive him away. One theory that Jodie had read about lone dolphins who made friends with people was that they were outcast from their groups. But like her mother, Jodie believed it was best to think positive. And since they might be sailing for hours yet, it made sense to try not to worry. That afternoon, Jodie sat on the foredeck watching Apollo. He seemed to be having a great time bow riding. He had disappeared occasionally as they traveled, but never for very long. Jodie couldn't help feeling that Apollo sensed there was a special reason to stay with Dolphin Dreamer, and that he shared an excitement that kept bubbling up inside her. Jodie gazed out to sea. The clouds had burnt away, and the sky was a hard, clear blue overhead. Freshening winds blew them along rapidly, by good luck, in exactly the direction they wanted to go. Suddenly, Jody froze, clutching the rail hard with excitement. That was a dorsal fin rising above the waves. Was that another dolphin out there? Yes, it was. And another, and another. She gave a yell of triumph and called, "Dolphins off the starboard bow!" She glanced down at the lower deck and saw that her parents were ready with the camera, and Harry was bringing the boat about, slowing their speed as they approached the dolphins. She looked back down at Apollo and caught her breath. He disappeared. Then, as Jody searched the water with anxious eyes, she saw him. Apollo was swimming beneath the water, his body like a sleek grey bullet, heading straight for the other dolphins. She sighed with relief. Of course, Apollo must have sensed the other dolphins, must have heard their songs way before she saw them. The others, Poseidon, Triton, Artemis, Hermes, Castor, and Pollux, formed a tight group and hovered in a mass in the water, unmoving as they waited for Apollo. They didn't look very friendly, and Jody felt a clutch of anxiety. Had she done the right thing? Was Apollo going to be all right? All of a sudden, as if Apollo had crossed some invisible line in the water, the herd stopped waiting and charged at him. Big Poseidon was in the lead, and Jody saw him hit Apollo broadside. She saw the impact made Apollo spin away, and she covered her mouth in horror. Poor Apollo! What had she done? But Apollo recovered quickly and charged back through the water at Poseidon, slamming against the bigger dolphin. Then, twisting away, Apollo swam rapidly to the center of the group, and suddenly they were all slamming against one another, spinning, diving down, and leaping up in the air. Jody breathed out with relief as she finally understood. They were playing now. Now, as they leaped and dived together and apart, it was impossible to mistake this behavior for anything other than having fun. Apollo wasn't on his own anymore. June 24th continued. Apollo is back where he belongs, with his friends. Maybe he'd always known where they were. Probably he would have found his way back to them in another day or two, without the help of Dolphin Dreamer. But I'm glad we were there to see the reunion. It was a wonderful sight to see, and to think that this is only the beginning of our great adventure. And that's all for Dolphin Diaries.